Hello, everyone. I'm Jonah Lacqua. I am the Executive Director of the History Project, and it is my pleasure to introduce Mary Leno tonight for our Art of the Archive series. Before I turn it over to Mary, I have a couple of plugs. First of all, if you're not familiar with the History Project, we are Boston's LGBTQ+ community archives, and we document, preserve, and share LGBTQ+ history. We're able to do this work because of the support of donors and other community members who help us to pay for archive supplies, pay for Zoom, all that other stuff you need to do to keep the lights on. So first of all, thank you to anyone who made a donation tonight when you signed up on Eventbrite, and I'll put the link in the chat if you're interested in learning more about us and about how to donate on our website. We have 2 more events coming up before the end of the year after tonight. First is our holiday party on December 5th. We will be gathering together at Club Cafe in the Napoleon Room, which has a very intense air filtration system. But you can learn more about that on the event listing. We'd love to see you there in person if you feel comfortable with it. And we will be doing another virtual event in collaboration with Historic New England about the American Drag exhibit that's currently up at Houghton Library at Harvard. So I'll put some more links in the chat to our event page so you can learn more about those events. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mary. Mary is a former City of Cambridge employee with the Women's Heritage Commission and has been documenting social and protest movements for decades. Back in 2018, she shared her graffiti photography project with us, and that presentation is also available via Cambridge Community Television, and I can share that link as well. Mary's donated collections of ephemera to the Cambridge Public Library Archives and Special Collections, to Northeastern University Archives and Special Collections, and to the History Project. And some of the many issues that she has documented include Black Lives Matter, apartheid, housing, LGBTQ+ rights, women's rights, and anti-war and anti-nuclear actions. And Mary is going to share her extensive collection of protest attire this evening. And we are so excited for it. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Mary.
I'm happy to be here. Nervous, but happy. Okay, I just want to begin by thanking 2 people and the History Project to begin. My techie by my side, Estelle Dish, and my ever encouraging friend, Susan Fleischman, who's always, when I'm stuck, I don't mind dialing the phone and saying, hey, guess what happened, including today. So to begin, just a little background information. One is political clothing is not new. The suffragettes wore white long dresses to stand out, wanting to have voting privileges as men do. And it was many years in the making before that happened. But moving up the time ladder, the civil rights movement also had dressed politically correct. They wore, they dressed up, which is they wore jackets, ties. Men often wore hats, and women wore dresses, sometimes nylons, and appropriate hats too. And if you recall the sit-ins at the lunch counters in the South, you'll remember that they always dressed in a what one might call a dignified manner, respectable, so that they could be taken seriously. And Rosa Parks, when she refused to get up for a white man who wanted to sit there, she was under arrest. And the press described her as soft-spoken and well-dressed. So that was the impression that I think she wanted to give for the press. She was hardly soft-spoken, a great organizer, and moved the civil rights movement forward. And remember pictures of Reverend Martin Luther King? We always saw him in a nice jacket, a nice shirt, no matter how many times he was arrested. So that was their strategy. And moving up a little closer to our times, the marches and protests of the wars we were producing, getting people complaining about the war in El Salvador and Central America, as well as Vietnam. We wore jeans, shirts, and t-shirts not tucked in. So we were sort of the ragtag group, but we didn't care. And coming up closer to our time, we now wear masks, but we were clever enough to make them political. All of us have Black Lives Matters under our pillow or in the car. And most of us are wearing rainbow masks. So we've politicized whatever we can to make our statements. And given that, I think I should just start with the program. And the first slide coming up is Libby Bouvier, who she's one of the only, probably the only one I'm going to name. She was at the Women's Center in the early days of the beginnings of the takeover and following into 47, I think, Pleasant Street. I might have the number wrong, but Pleasant Street, which is now getting a total rehab. But she was the one who organized and preserved the early press clippings and history of the women's movement. So she's now with the History Project doing the very same thing. And her statement on her shirt, "We make history, we preserve it," is exactly what the History Project does. And moving on, with a little adjustment, we'll be moving on.
So,
Okay, this was the beginning. This is probably the shirt you saw that made you want to see political clothing. I'm not going to read the shirts, but this is an example of the civil rights movement with Dr. Martin Luther King at the bottom, looking pretty spiffy. And this is Native American shirt, Homeland Security. I can't read all of it, but it's Native Americans carrying guns, but protecting their land. And none of us want prisons. And of course, we should be smashing patriarchy every day of the week, but we've chosen Wednesdays. This is RBG, Beloved. This is the Pope who really makes women have children, but doesn't care to feed them or take care of them once they're here. And our young prophet, Greta, who we owe a great deal to. Right now in Egypt is the closing of another year of discussing climate change. She chose not to be there because she doesn't feel like it really matters. Okay. Notice the face masks being political too. I think even before the pharaohs, but I'll go with that one. Now, notice this is, everything is political here, the face mask, the buttons, the shirt. And this is nicely put, I think. This is cat lovers against white supremacy. All right. Save the effing planet. Don't we want the planet saved? And it's English I appreciate. Our vice president. Will Smith makes a statement. Racism isn't getting worse, it's getting filmed. Another version of the same truthful statement. Students organizing for unity and liberation. This is a little worn, but mass action against police brutality. I'm tired too, I agree with that one. I can't read the sign because I have something above, but it's a Planned Parenthood shirt and another RBG. Couple of signs here. The shirt says, "Not fragile like a flower, fragile like a bomb." Don't we all strive for that? And RIP civil rights, equal rights. Yeah, we can thank the Supreme Court for their work. Yeah, I'm for that. Yeah, we're all gay in this room too. Yeah. Political statement, wouldn't you say? I guess she's a sister. And this is her trans and taking no shit. Okay. A rainbow little animal. And the Boston Dyke March, revolt. The Dyke March, I believe, began in 1995 and was pretty consistent until COVID. However, it was a great march this year and last year. I think last year. Yeah, Butch, good. Nothing like getting it out there. The trans resistance shirt. And this trans dog is looks a lot like my little dog. Queer as in fuck you, yeah. Take nothing. This is a photo that was taken during pop-up Pride. Love this hat. Love this shirt. Yeah, love is love. Why don't they leave us at that? This is Cambridge Health Alliance. This is a proud person. And the Boston chorus teamed up with Disney to produce this year's concert. Boston Gay Boston chorus. Great smile. Great establishments. Who knew that the Chamber of Commerce had an LGBT office here in Massachusetts? Gender kills. Yeah. Yeah, I did want to mention the once Trump was elected, women gathered in Washington to protest a sexist president, and we wore nice, tasteful pink pussy hats to indicate his fondness for inappropriate behavior. Sometimes antisocial, always anti-fascist. Don't you love that? Moms demand action for gun sense in America. Yes. Nice couple there. This is what I meant about the suffragettes wearing political outfit. Fair share for Massachusetts, kind of small print. Now, this is not political clothing, but it's worth keeping in the collection. Although it's a political message as well as flag. Neither do I. Sorry, I missed that weekend. Looks like it was a good time. This says Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. And our favorite cartoons. Michigan City Pride. What's more punk than the public library? You said it. And Gal Pal. Garden Queer. Native Love, that's nice. Let me read this. Why be racist, sexist, homophobic, or transphobic when you could just be quiet? That can be for next door neighbors, maybe. The t-shirt on the right, abortion is our right. This is proud parent. Can't quite read that. G flag. This is the trans picnic at Franklin Park this year. A lot of these last few pictures are from that. Lavender Menace, I haven't seen that in a long time. This is Central Square here in Cambridge. And this was a demonstration that the Poor People's Campaign put on. And I don't know if Faneuil Hall will ever change the name, but I suspect the Poor People's Campaign will keep on it. And other groups too. The buttons say out of the closet and into the street. We are everywhere. Come out, wherever you are. And a great hat. More queer, less fear. And of course, People's Republic here in Cambridge. this was a demonstration here in Cambridge for in which Bernie Sanders spoke. Join the political revolution today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Gaza on my mind. Now, we're coming to the end pretty much. And I do want to, this is not the next few slides, but I do want to end with politically incorrect clothing. So just a couple more. This is Honk, the annual musician festival in Somerville and Cambridge. This year's Honk was great, as it always is. This is the last slide. Silence is complicity in terms of political correctness. Now I just want to show two incorrect, but I love this official member of the Piss and Moan About Everything Club. I'm a silent member to that. And the next one, wicked smart, wicked smart, wicked smart, Boston. I really take umbrage at this. You know, some of us who were born here talk like that. And I hate it that we're laughed at in that way. So that is definitely what I consider political incorrectness. And these are on sale down on Washington Street in Boston for tourists to buy. Of course, they want them to buy them and go home and laugh at our accents. That's the end of it. Thank you so much for sticking with it.
Thank you, Mary. So we have time if folks have questions or comments to chat about some of the shirts. As the photos went by, the woman wearing the shirt with the 3 buttons on it, that's my wife.
Oh,
That's my wife, Sarah. And I don't know what we were at where she was wearing that outfit, but you can buy your own shirt from the History Project store if you want, if you liked that design. Not you, but anyone. But I appreciated seeing there were a couple of other people who went by who I thought I recognized, but I'll out my wife, not anyone else.
it could have been at the History Project picnic.
Yeah, maybe. Which I think I was going to ask, have you seen, so we know that you've taken a lot of photos over time, that you're a person who collects sort of community memory. Have you seen the shirts and other things that people wear change a lot in the last couple of years? Or, you know, has it always been this diverse to see this many different types of designs and messages and that sort of thing?
Well, I just got the association with how great it is to think about saving all these wonderful statements in the last couple of years. So I think, and I've been to a lot of demonstrations over the years, and it's never struck me. So I can't answer whether, in fact, it was happening years ago, but somebody else might want to respond to it.
And I would say, folks, please feel free to unmute yourselves. We're a relatively small group. Or if you feel more comfortable writing something in the chat, I'm happy to read things out loud.
I'm just thinking about the Lesbian History Archives. I haven't been there since the 1970s, but when it was in Joan Nessel and Deb, I can't think of her last name's apartment, the bathroom of that apartment, which was in, I think, in Manhattan someplace, over, I guess they might have had two bathrooms in that place, but over the tub, like where there's kind of a oval shower rod on some old bathtubs, they had like hundreds of t-shirts. That was back in the 70s. And I don't know if they would have been political statements at that time so much as maybe shirts from particular events like the Michigan Women's Music Festival or something like that. I'm sure they have something like that in there. I think they moved to a new place, but I haven't been there. I also want to say another thing. It's this about the shirt that said "Wicked Smat." I live in Somerville, and I really wish I could remember where I found this out from. But people in Somerville often make this joke about Medford, which of course we border, and they go "Meffa, Meffa." And I read somewhere that that comes out of an anti-Italian kind of racist thing. It goes back to when Italians were populating Medford, and it was making fun of the Italian accent. So whenever I hear anybody say that, I always tell them that little bit of history because I think it's important to know.
Yeah.
There is, thank you, Maida. I'm putting the link to Lesbian History talks a bit about their t-shirts on their website. So I'm putting the link into the chat for folks who are interested. And then there was this great project a few years ago, a professor at a university in California, I don't remember which one, did a digital project where he went around the country and took photos of LGBTQ shirts in archives, and it's called Wearing Gay History. He didn't make it to us, so our shirts aren't on there, and we have a pretty extensive t-shirt collection in our archives as well. But similarly to what Maida was saying, I think that they're mostly about specific events. Like for instance, we have a GCN 10th birthday shirt that we have a lot of copies of. But that's like one that stands out in my mind.
I thought it was fabulous, Mayor. Absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
And I don't know that we had the t-shirt so much, but it certainly seems like the early gay pride days, we were much more multi-issue in terms of our expressions around solidarity and other kinds of things. But the other thing I was thinking of was when you were talking about your wonderful intro about how people dressed. If you remember, that's how gay people dressed in those early gay pride marches. Long before we were accused of flaunting it, we were really very straight-laced in our appearance for that very same reason of wanting to appear to be respectable, particularly in light of all the stereotypes about us as being, sick and all those things. And so I remember those early, Frank Kameny and other people like that marches where it was kind of nice with gay pride when we finally started to break out of it and people put on their boas and other things, the men.
I've actually got a flyer I picked up when I was at the San Francisco Pride March in 76, I think, or 78 probably. It's just a one-page Xerox flyer, shows a man in a business suit, and the copy on it basically says, "This isn't how we dress anymore. No more of this gray business suits. That's not our community." I think I can pull it out. Give me a minute or two. I'll see if I can find it because I've been going through that kind of stuff.
And and Cole mentions in the chat that they read that some gay organizers, some of the homophile organizers mandated formal dress at the protests.
That's right.
And yeah, I was gonna say that I feel like the early photos of who is it? Barbara Giddings, who's always wearing like a nice dress, I feel like. And I feel like she wasn't wearing dresses in her later photos in her later years after those, the early 70s.
That was true in the press coverage and demonstrating in front of the White House. All the GBLT folks were very dressed up conservative mannerisms too.
I think it's interesting too, especially since your photos are from the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, and Maida has the photo of we don't dress like that anymore, actually. So we'll cut to here. I added you to the spotlight, Maida.
In the spotlight. Okay, it says official parade drag, gray business suits. At the bottom, it says, wear the official gay day suit, only $275. A memento to wear for years to come. Styling 2-button gray jacket with pink triangle buttons. Matching official parade necktie, shirt not included. Available from leading gay merchants. And this doesn't have a date on it, but I think it's from the 78 March, which I was pretty sure I was at. Maybe it was 76. I'm sorry, I was at both. I'm sending this to the San Francisco's archive, since I don't know if they have any of these. So I hope that you get some sense of it from my holding it up there. There you go.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking in the last couple of years, there's here, think of how to put this. I think we're mostly a gay audience here, or at least fans of gay history or fans of feminist history or the intersections of those. But sometimes when we talk about gay history, it stops in 2004. It stops with marriage equality. And we all know that that's not where it ended, that we're still out there protesting and ensuring rights for everyone, ensuring the expansion of rights, especially for those who were overlooked in the early 2000s. I can't say anything. I can't tell you who to vote for, but I can talk about the current political state of the world as somebody who works for a nonprofit. But I think it's really interesting to see the shirts now, I think, getting back at some of those intersections. You see, groups like Black and Pink. I saw a couple of their shirts go by about ending prisons, about abolition now. Other shirts, I think, looking at the intersections of, Black Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter and, pride and liberation. And I might be trying to be too academic on this Thursday evening, but I think that might be why there's so many different shirts too. Our people are really highlighting these issues that there's not just one issue that we're all focused on. But I don't need to hog the Zoom. If anyone else wants to chime in or talk about or ask Mary any questions, please feel free.
Mary, do you have a sense that we lesbians wore more t-shirts than like the gay men? More political shirts?
No, I have more of a sense that I might be looking more at the lesbian t-shirts than gay men's.
But I'm thinking maybe we wore more of the political t-shirts than the men did. But there's a question in the chat that says, how did people react to being asked to have their photos taken?
Everybody said yes. I asked them if they wanted it sent to their mail. Most of them did, and they were pleased. Nobody said, I don't want this shown, I don't want, I want you to delete it right now. There was no negativity. Not everybody were asked. A lot of the people at like the Bernie Sanders rally, I took the back of their t-shirts. I never asked them if they would like it. So I never got a negative response. That's not to say it might not be in the future. Thanks, Sarah Boyer. Sounds like we're done.
I was giving folks a moment to see if anyone else had anything they
Well, you
wanted to
better-
share.
You're
Oh,
better with silence than I am.
well, it takes a lot of practice, honestly. We have 2 more questions in the chat. One is Cole asking, what's your favorite, what are your favorite shirts of your own to wear? What are your favorite own political shirts?
Well, I was madly looking for the shirt that New Words used to have with the dikes to watch out for. I couldn't find the shirt. I spent going through everything. And also when Denise Simmons was mayor, I was looking for that shirt too. And in fact, I had Estelle looking for her shirt. So those were my 2 very favorite shirts.
That's excellent. Is the Denise Simmons one the one that says Cambridge has always been a little bit queer? There we go. Sue in the chat is saying, yep, Cambridge has always been a little bit queer. And Sandra in the chat's asking, what's your greatest hope for young feminists?
Oh, my word. I'm stumped that they continue along our path of wanting to make change.
This was great, Mary. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you so much. I'm going to read, John Kuiper has a comment, and then I think we will head out for the evening. And John says, Bill, my partner says he appreciates your
show you
comment.
One t-shirt. before
Oh,
we go.
yeah,
This is
please.
from Estelle, and Estelle's gonna read it.
Cambridge Pride 09, Gay Pride, Mayor Denise Simmons.
Okay. Nice ending.
Excellent. Thank you, Mary. And thank you all for being here this
Thank
evening.
you for those who sat through this whole entire evening with me.
It's a pleasure to see the work that you're doing and to hear from you. And yeah, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful evening and a wonderful holiday next week, if you celebrate. And I hope to see you at a History Project event in the future. We have, like I said, the holiday party coming up on the 5th of December if you're into in person, and we'll do a drag presentation December 7th. And then January, we have a lot going on, all virtual because it's freezing here and no one wants to leave their house. So we'll have, I think, a book club. I'll give you, we have an author coming in to talk, and then a sneak peek we'll be hearing from a lesbian archivist in Rhode Island. But you'll have to keep an eye on the History Project website to RSVP for those. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank
again.
you.
Yeah.
This was great.
Thank you.
Good job, Mary.
Thank you.